All right, what's up, guys? It's Thursday. We are here to talk a little NBA DFS on the website of Draftkings. Hopefully, everybody had a successful night last night. Falling just out of the money with Porter Jr. in my lineup was not a happy moment, but he was pretty popular, so I can guarantee I am not the only one who just missed the cash line and had Porter Jr. in the lineup. It happens. You'll roll on to today.
I did not have Porter Jr., and I still did not have the cash line or even close to it. So it's one of those nights for me.
Happy to report, finished in the money for overlay.
Nice.
I'd played in the 22 as opposed to the 2.5 last night. But I think all these DFS games are filled with would-have, could-have, should-haves. You all have been there yourselves on pretty much any site you've ever played in. The nice part is, though, guys, nobody won the jackpot last night. So we're going to be up to $16,000 any day. And it's just going to be amazing when somebody hits this bad boy. Now, even if you don't finish 12-0, which, let's face it, most people aren't going to do, if you finish within the top 10%, you get about 9 times your buy-in back. Feeling a hot streak coming on, so let's continue to ride that bad boy today and never forget about that Slump Buster Challenge. If you play the same contest 20 times, it can be over 3 weeks, 4 weeks, however long it takes, and you don't cash once, they refund everything for you.
I'm thinking since you won that big 18 last night, you might be in the 22 tonight, huh?
Maybe. We'll see. I haven't looked this one through a ton yet to decide if I think this is the night I want to try to pounce. Anyways, guys, this is the backup channel. Most of you guys know this by now. Please subscribe. Thumbs up is all out there. And as far as who we're talking about today on this show, with the lack of information this morning, these are going to be it's a little bit of a different type of day on here as far as our picks, a little bit more discussion points than anything. I didn't have a ton of guys I felt very comfortable with this morning that I wanted to hard recommend. So we're going to bring up a few guys that we really want to talk over for the masses today.
Yeah, we love it. One of my guys is clearly like that. I'm glad you kind of followed suit, and we're rolling with it.
All right, so yesterday we brought up getting 75 thumbs up or likes on yesterday's video in order to do members only for free on Friday. We're still a little short. I think we're at 62 right now. If you want to go back to yesterday's video and click the thumbs up button, you got all day to do it. If we get to 75, we'll do members only free to the public tomorrow. And as far as the 5-pack deal of the day goes, we're offering $50 rebates on the annual package. So go to the website. If you pay for the annual package, it's $200. I'll send you 50 back, so it's only $150. That gets you all of MLB this season, all of NFL next year, the rest of this NBA season, the start of next NBA season, all videos, all write-ups. Excellent bang, excellent value, excellent bang for your buck. You name it, it is up there. Daily passes are up. Now let's talk about some of the plays of the day. And I want to talk about the second greatest basketball player named Michael Scott of all time. That is Mike Scott of the Philadelphia 76ers, priced at $3,800 today. Look, there's still no Embiid, Simmons, or Richardson. 76ers roll in tonight extremely shorthanded. The last 2 games, Mike Scott's played 26 and 36 minutes. He's coming off of 2 excellent games based on this price point, coming in hot. Early in the day, there's not a ton of value on the slate. I've always been kind of a fan of Mike Scott. And if you don't have these other really good players like Simmons and Embiid in there, good opportunity for him to come out today and get a little bit more usage than normal.
What do you think about this game, first off?
I expect it to be semi-competitive.
Semi-competitive? Like, who do you think is going to win?
I think Sacramento wins, but I think they win by, 5 to 10, and that Philly keeps us one within striking range, and most of the starters get their normal allotment of minutes today.
Same. I also feel like this is a game Philly could win without Embiid and Simmons.
Sure, Sacramento's not very good.
Yeah, I expect Sacramento to win because they're playing, decent ball right now, and Philly's obviously not good without those guys, but this is kind of a winnable game. Just, I think, like you said, it's going to be close, competitive. As you mentioned, Scott's played good minutes the last 2 games. There isn't a ton of value early on the slate. A lot of the value guys that you would be looking at here, the Golden State cheap pieces, are now big question marks with Curry back, who we'll talk about in a little bit here. Scott's hot. We like his game when he gets minutes. Definitely worth taking a look here.
Yeah, exactly. Also, I hate the mid-tier today.
Same.
So, there's a couple of studs that we like. We're going to talk about a couple of them. I want some value so that I can play some of these studs. I usually like the mid-tier, and so do you. Then ultimately we get stuck going stars and scrubs because that's the way NBA DFS works out too many days. Today, I want some of these studs, but I need cheap guys to fill around them.
Agreed.
All right, next up, speaking of studs, you want to go over this guy. I love all the memes going around of Jokic showing what a fat little kid he was. And, who would have thought this guy would have grown up to be an NBA star? So, for me, this is just big men versus Hornets.
Yeah, this is a lock for me. He's too cheap at 9,500. He's my favorite play on the slate by a good amount. You talked about how they're weren't that many guys on the slate you love. That's exactly why I wanted to get my two to you first, because I did not want you stealing Jokic from me, because this is just a lock of all locks coming off an awful loss to Golden State at home. This is a game I expect Jokic to dominate through and through. We usually like him in games against better teams, kind of a la Jimmy Butler. But weirdly enough, like this kind of spot sets up really nice for him. A slower paced game, which he's dominated multiple times this season against a team that gets crushed by opposing big men. First guy I'm putting in any lineup I make tonight. Give me all the Jokic. How do you feel?
I like him. I don't like him as much as you. So there's a good opportunity he does make my optimal lineup tonight, but there are other studs that I'm interested in as well, and we will talk those over on members only.
Fair.
All right. So I want to go right back to the Philadelphia 76ers right here, and I want to use Glenn Robinson as a talking point. Again, 76ers are decimated, missing their studs tonight. So, they still got Horford. They still got Tobias Harris. So they're not a terrible team, but they're still, they're not as rich as they normally are. So Glenn Robinson is a guy who he was kind of critical of the 76ers, a week or two ago, talking about, I don't know why they brought me in here. This team is filled with wing players. Robinson wasn't seeing much run. We saw him with plenty of good games for the Warriors earlier this year. Now, Robinson had by far his best game as a 76er last time out. He played a ton of minutes. Again, there's not a lot of value out there yet. Robinson is a guy who can put up DFS points when given the opportunity. My question is, do you think this is a sign of things to come while these guys remain injured? Or do you think Philadelphia was simply riding the hot hand the other night and he could easily go back down to 15 minutes and we can see the Korkmazes and the Miltons and the other guys that play the wings take the majority of the love away from him?
This is why I hate it when I miss games and I don't see much of games, because it's really hard for me to speak on it because I didn't see much of the game. That being said, they were competitive last a couple days ago in LA, excuse me. I like how, you mentioned that he was kind of wondering out loud why the team traded for him with kind of similar guys all around him. It's weird to me because we saw Burks take a big back seat last game. So the true answer to this question is I don't know, but there's definitely buying signs here. And, if I'm playing in tournaments, he's also worth taking a look at.
Right. The Philadelphia 76ers are probably the top place to look for value pieces today. But, if we're being completely honest with ourselves and with you guys, I don't think there's a set pecking order. And it's not that we don't know, because we don't know. I'm also not sure Coach knows. I think he may ride the hot hand. Robinson could play 32 minutes tonight. He could play 12 minutes. Burks was a disappointment the other day. He could play 30 minutes tonight. He could play 12 minutes. We don't really know. So I do think there is risk associated with all these guys tonight. And if you're looking to zig when other people zag, I think maybe you skip a guy like Robinson and take a look at some of the other guys who did not play well last game, because a lot of people will simply look at what happened last game. But I'm not sure that Coach won't just ride the hot hand in this situation, because guys like Korkmaz, Robinson, Burks are all relatively equal in their skill set.
Something you talk about a lot. A little bit surprised you haven't brought it up here, although I just thought about it. Embiid is going to be back relatively soon. I don't expect Simmons to miss the rest of the season. And when Embiid is back, everything changes for them. This isn't a situation where, they're going to need to really establish a pecking order for the next 30, 40 games. They need wins now. They need a win tonight. Whoever's playing the best tonight is going to get the most run.
I would agree with that wholeheartedly. And you're right. That is something I talk about a lot. And I agree with you 1,000% on what we just talked about right there. So completely on board. It is probably a situation where they're going to ride at the hot hand. Look, if Korkmaz hits 4 3-pointers in the first half, expect him to get solid run. If he goes 0 of 7, he may only play 6 minutes in the second half. We don't really know. Now, I would expect Robinson to probably get some love tonight coming off that big game, but it doesn't mean they won't go right back to Alec Burks, who we talked about the other day. He just didn't play well that game.
Yeah, like Burks is probably wondering the same thing now. Why did they trade for me? Not now, I mean, just in general. Why the hell did this team trade for me? They don't use me. They've got similar guys. And I get their frustrations.
Look, Shake Milton isn't going to shoot 100% from 3 for the rest of his life, and we saw him come back to earth last time out. Doesn't mean he won't ball like a madman today, but a lot of it, when you get these very mediocre players within the NBA, they aren't consistently having good games. Not everybody offers you the consistency of a LeBron James or something like that. These guys aren't clearly as good, so they have good ones and they have bad ones. They're probably going to ride the hot hand today. And this is kind of like a baseball type of situation where, zig when other people zag if you're looking to be different within GPPs.
Definitely. It's scary that when you said, the consistency of a LeBron James, in my head, I actually went straight to Jason Tatum.
Oh man, has he been consistent lately? Young man really coming into his own, right?
He just looks good all the way around. He looks just smooth.
Yeah, he's a quality young basketball player who really seems to have the game slowing down for him over the last month.
To me, he looks like a better version of Brandon Ingram.
I think that's a little aggressive because a month ago you would have thought Brandon Ingram was 10 times the basketball player Jason Tatum was.
Maybe not 10 times, but you're not wrong there. So they're very similar. But right now, Tatum is playing better than either of them have probably ever played.
Yeah, Tatum looks amazing right now. Great game again last night. He was just awesome. All right. So you wanted to talk over multiple-time MVP, the silent assassin right here, little Stephen Curry, coming back after missing the better part of this last decade, it seems like. I have absolutely no idea how many minutes he's going to play. So that was one of the things we wanted to talk over. Also, I don't know, what is your inkling? Have you listened to anybody else talk about him? Do you think he gets any love from the masses tonight?
I'm not sure about love from the masses. It's something that I still need to work on as the day comes out. He is priced affordably at 8K. I don't think he gets like a ton of love because it's so risky. He might only play 20 minutes, but it's also a weak slate. So I don't think you're going to get him at like sub 5%. I think the ownership is a question mark at this point. But really, as you mentioned, I wanted to talk him up as a talking point. So first we'll just talk about him because the talking point really extends farther than him. It talks about the rest of the Golden State team. But as far as he goes, it's a hand injury, right? So I don't really expect him to be out of shape. I know that he's been working out with the G League team a little bit, hasn't played in any games. But if you just had to guess, how many minutes do you think he'd play?
25.
I was thinking somewhere between 25 and 30.
Because you can be in shape, but there's no way to simulate game shape.
True. And they also, they're not playing for anything. So sure, it's nice for them to get him out there and fans want to see it, but they really aren't playing for anything. On the other side of that, though, and I think this is worth bringing up, they are playing Toronto, the team that beat them in the finals last year. A little bit of a chip on their shoulder coming into the night. And I think you see a good game from Golden State. I think you see Draymond finally play. I think that they've probably been holding him out for Curry's return. And I think you could potentially see a really competitive game here. What do you think about that?
I do agree with the competitive game because with the game being in Golden State, that crowd is going to be rocking with him back tonight. They are going to be pleased as punch.
I'm sorry to interject. I'm a big proponent of, and it clearly didn't work out last night, but with Portland of, first game back of a stud, team sometimes doesn't play as well. It takes them a little bit while to get acclimated. This is a different situation just because Golden State already sucks. They've got the worst record in the NBA. And Curry is just a transcendent guy. As you just mentioned, the arena is going to be rocking. They're playing the team they lost to in the finals last year. I think this is only good for Golden State. Go on.
Curry's a guy who can, if the shot's falling, and again, I don't love guys that are jump shooters after they haven't played in this long. That being said, this is possibly the greatest jump shooter of all time. So, maybe he's transcended. I think of when Mike Trout got injured a couple of years ago, and one of his teammates said, well, he does everything better than everybody else anyway, so why wouldn't he recover from an injury quicker? Well, Steph Curry is not your normal shooter, right? He is, arguably the greatest shooter of all time. So, I could definitely see a situation where he got rolling early and dropped like 22 real-life points in the first 8 minutes.
Yeah, same. He's the type of guy that can do it. And, you mentioned it, and you just said it yourself. You don't like jump shooters after a long, long time off like this, but it's Steph Curry. I mean, it's not.
He's not your normal jump shooter. He's great. He's arguably the GOAT.
The way you said it, you're like, I don't like guys. Curry is not a guy. He's he's different. That doesn't mean he's going to play well. If he only played 15 minutes, no one's going to be surprised. If he played 20 minutes, but only shot 7 times in the first half and was 2 of 7, no one would be surprised. But it's definitely worth talking over because he is very affordable for the type of player he is. If on the off chance he plays around 30 minutes. And the other part of this, and we'll get into it quickly, we can talk it over more on members only, but it really hurts the value on Golden State just because we don't know what to expect from him.
So I'm guessing we'll get some information as the afternoon progresses that the Warriors will come out and say he's limited to 18 to 22 minutes or 25 to 30 or whatever it might be. What would you have to see in order for you wanted to spend 8K on him, knowing that there's Westbrook, Harden, Kawhi Leonard, Jokic, and all these other guys out there?
30.
30?
Yeah, I mean anything less is just so risky. Although I wouldn't be surprised if we hear something like there is no exact minutes like limit restriction, but we're watching his minutes, something to that effect. You know what I mean?
Agreed.
That just
I
makes it
expect to hear something, but that doesn't mean we will, and it doesn't mean it'll be precise.
yeah, like if you were, double digits like Dame was yesterday, I don't even think it would be worth talking over. And he's hardly a must at this price point, even if, we hear about minutes because he's coming off so long a rust. But the other thing about this, you've talked about those guys, which are certainly in play, Harden, Kawhi in that game, they're studs. There aren't that other many good plays on this slate. So this isn't, a slate where it would be crazy to use him in my eyes.
Yeah. So we'll watch and we'll listen. I think the other point that you kept bringing up that makes a lot of sense is it does take a lot of Golden State out of play tonight. We only have 4 games to begin with, and knowing that Curry comes in, and I mean, he's clearly the best player on this team by a distant margin, right? Much better than Wiggins or Draymond Green. You just really don't have a lot of desire to take. And again, it's not even a good matchup. And on the flip side of it, Toronto might be getting a bunch of guys back tonight. Now all their guys are too expensive.
Exactly. It's very tricky to kind of talk about this game, especially with the big elephant in the room, which is Curry.
Yeah. All right, guys, that's what we got today. Slide back into yesterday's video, give it the thumbs up so we can give you guys a free members only video tomorrow. Have a great rest of your Thursday, and we'll talk about some sports betting and some overlay a little bit later.
Thanks, guys.